Lucky Luciano, the man who built the Mafia. Salvatore Luciana, later known as Charles Lucky Luciano, was born in Sicily in 1918 and moved to New York as a child. He dropped out of school and quickly turned to street crime. He worked with Jewish gangsters like Meyer Lansky and Bugsy Seagull and became known for his brains and brutality. In 1929, he survived a savage assassination attempt. Beaten, stabbed, his throat cut, yet lived. That's how he earned the nickname Lucky. He played a key role in the 1931 murders of both Joe Masseria and Salvatore Maranzano, ending the Castellano War. But instead of claiming power, he restructured the Mafia and founded the Commission, a governing council of bosses from major families. Arrested in 1936 for running prostitution rackets, Luciano was sentenced to 30 years. During World War II, he helped U.S. naval intelligence secure New York ports and was later deported to Italy. He died in 1962. Joe Banano, the quiet, long-lived Godfather. Giuseppe Joe Banano was born in Sicily in 1905 and arrived in the U.S. illegally, hiding on a Cuban fishing boat. By 21, he was a mafia boss, taking over the Maranzano family and renaming it the Banano family. Banano kept a low profile and focused on making money while keeping peace with the Commission. But in the 1960s, his grip weakened during what became known as the Banana War, a bloody power struggle within his own family. After disappearing for over a year, Banano eventually retired. Unlike many of his peers, he lived to a ripe old age, dying in 2002 at 97. He even wrote a memoir, A Man of Honor, revealing insider details about mob life. Vito Genovese, the ambitious tyrant. Vito Genovese was born in Italy and rose through the ranks under Luciano. But after a murder charge in 1937, he fled to Italy and worked with Mussolini's fascists, allegedly even arranging assassinations. He returned to the U.S. in 1945 and later had mob boss Frank Costello shot, who survived. Then, Genovese took over what became the Genovese family. In 1957, he organized the infamous Appalachian Meeting, a secret summit of over 100 mobsters in upstate New York. It was raided by police, exposing the Mafia to the public like never before. Soon after, Genovese was convicted of drug trafficking, possibly set up by rival mobsters, and died in prison in 1969. Frank Costello, the Prime Minister of the underworld. Frank Costello, born Francesco Castiglia, wasn't just a gangster. He was a master of influence. While Luciano was more violent, Costello preferred politics. He had judges, senators, and mayors in his pocket. When Luciano was in prison, Costello ran the family and used his power to influence both business and government. But in 1957, Genovese tried to assassinate him. Costello survived, but stepped down from power. He lived quietly after that, dying of natural causes in 1973. Despite everything, he managed to avoid a long prison sentence, almost unheard of in mob history. Carlo Gambino, the quiet kingpin. Carlo Gambino was subtle, quiet, and incredibly effective. Born in Sicily in 1902, he immigrated to the U.S. and rose through the ranks with a cold, calculated style. He seized control of the Gambino family in 1957 after organizing the murder of Albert Anastasia, head of Murder Inc. Under Gambino's leadership, his family became the most powerful in the country. He avoided the spotlight and legal trouble better than most. Gambino died in 1976 from a heart attack, having lived for nearly 2 decades without serving serious prison time. Albert Anastasia, Lord of Murder Inc. Albert Anastasia was one of the most feared mobsters ever. Born in Italy, he came to the U.S. illegally and joined the docks. But his true talent was violence. He co-founded Murder Inc., the Mafia's enforcement arm that allegedly carried out hundreds of contract killings. He eventually became head of the Mangano family, but his brutal style and ambition made enemies. In 1957, he was gunned down in a barber chair at the Park Sheraton Hotel in Manhattan, one of the most famous mob hits ever. Joe Columbo, the boss who went public. Joseph Columbo was a rising star in the mob world, but he did something no other Don dared to do. He went public. As head of the Columbo family, he founded the Italian-American Civil Rights League to protest FBI harassment. His activism brought cameras and attention, and that didn't sit well with other bosses. In 1971, during a rally in New York, Columbo Columbo was shot in the head and paralyzed. He remained in a vegetative state until his death in 1978. Many believe the Mafia ordered the hit because he had become too visible. Paul Castellano, the CEO Don. Pa Castellano was more business executive than street thug. As Gambino's cousin-in-law, he took over the Gambino family after Carlo's death. Castellano focused on white-collar crime, construction, unions, and racketeering, but he lost the respect of street-level soldiers who thought he was too soft and disconnected from real Mafia life. In 1985, John Gotti arranged his murder outside a Manhattan steakhouse, opening the door for John Gotti's rise to power. John Gotti, the dapper Don. John Gotti was everything Castellano wasn't. Flashy, brutal, and media-savvy. After orchestrating Castellano's murder, he became head of the Gambino family. Gotti loved attention. He wore expensive suits, strutted through Manhattan, and often beat charges in court, earning the nickname Teflon Don. But in 1992, thanks to testimony from his right-hand man, Sammy the Bull Gravano, Gotti was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. He died in 2002 behind bars. Tony Accardo, the brain of Chicago. Anthony Tony Accardo started out as Al Capone's bodyguard, but eventually led the Chicago outfit. He avoided the limelight and prison, unlike many mobsters. Known for being strategic and organized, Accardo expanded the outfit's reach into Las Vegas casinos and legal businesses. He stepped down as boss in the 1950s, but remained an advisor until his death in 1992. He was one of the few bosses who lived a full life without ever being convicted of a major crime. Sam Giancana, mobster with political ties. Sam Giancana led the Chicago outfit in the 1950s and 60s and was rumored to have ties to the CIA, the Kennedy family, and Cuban politics. He helped fix elections and allegedly collaborated with the CIA in plots to kill Fidel Castro. But Sam Giancana fell out of favor with his fellow mobsters. In 1975, just before he was set to testify before a grand jury, he was shot multiple times in his own home, likely silenced by the mob. Bugsy Seagull, the Vegas visionary. Benjamin Bugsy Seagull was flashy, violent, Jewish gangster who helped create Las Vegas as a gambling mecca. Working with the Italian Mafia, Seagull built the Flamingo Hotel, but construction delays and cost overruns angered his investors. In 1947, he was shot through the head at his girlfriend's Beverly Hills mansion. Despite his death, his vision for Las Vegas lived on. Al Capone, America's first celebrity gangster. Al Capone is still the most famous mobster in American history. He ran Chicago during Prohibition, earning millions from illegal booze, gambling, and vice. Known for his brutal tactics, like the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, Capone became a media sensation. In 1931, he was finally brought down, not for murder, but for tax evasion. He served time in Alcatraz and died in 1947 after years of illness, including syphilis-induced dementia.